Hello, I welcome you to our Bristol, Tennessee City Council meeting. And I'm Margaret Firerobin, serving on City Council, currently as mayor. Let me call to order this meeting of June 2nd. And Tara Music, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Firerobin?
Here.
Keene?
Here.
Powers?
Here.
Luttrell?
Here.
Turner?
Here.
Thank you very much. And I want to welcome everybody and thank you for participating in tonight's meeting. Your interest in city government is greatly appreciated. And if everyone can be patient as we are still using our electronic platform for tonight's meeting. As is our practice, there's an opportunity to speak on matters of city business during this appearance of citizens on that section of the agenda. Instructions for participating in tonight's meeting is provided in the scrolling message at the bottom of your screen. So if you'll pay attention to that, that would be great. All right, tonight we are I'm very grateful to have Tina McDaniel, who is with us. Tina and I helped to start the first community Martin Luther King celebration that we've held for 3 years at our train station. She also helped to start the faith program Be the Bridge, along with others, and she's a member of the Black and White Dialogue Group in Johnson City. Currently, she's attending Eastern Mennonite University Summer Peace Institute, and Tina has a lot of family members, some of whom who have spent time working for the city of Bristol, and some who continue, including her husband who works part-time. So Tina, we welcome you, and for those at home, if you wish to stand, you're welcome to, certainly when we get to the pledge, which is going to be given by Lauren Turner, and her dad Vince is going to introduce her after the invocation. So Ms. McDaniel, if you want to go ahead, thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much to the mayor and vice mayor and to all of the city council members and other leaders, our city manager who are represented on the call. And if there are others that I've missed, many thanks to our leadership in Bristol, Tennessee. Before I get into the invocation, I'd like to make a few comments, if that's okay. As you well know, the last few weeks and days have been filled with the winds of turbulence. These winds are due in part to the unnecessary murders of Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia, Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, and recently the wrenching murder of George Floyd in Minnesota. Essentially, the Black community is tired and would like to see positive change. We know this is not new to America because it continues to happen over and over again. Margaret, Mayor Firerobin mentioned our work with the Martin Luther King March, so I'm going to quote a couple of quotes from Dr. King. So in Dr. King's book, 1967, he makes mention to where do we go from here, chaos or community? And I see that as the issue in front of us. Where do we go from here, chaos or community? Dr. King empathizes in that particular book with those who fear the outbreak of riots. So he was way ahead of where we are today. He says social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention. There is no other answer. Constructive social change will bring certain tranquility. Evasions will merely encourage turmoil. Negroes hold only one key to the double lock of peaceful change. The other is in the hands of the leaders of the white community. We're very blessed in Bristol to have had 2 peaceful vigils lamenting the young Black lives that have been violently taken from us. We've seen young and old, Black and white, coming together in solidarity during the past few days. We've not had the violence that other cities have experienced, nor do we want to see that type of violence. However, we cannot assume that all is well in our community, and we must look for opportunities to engage and to explore ways to make our community more inclusive and safe for everyone. Dr. King said in one of his quotes that we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. We're tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all of us indirectly. This time I will lead in prayer, so let us pray. Father, I thank you for the leaders that you have set in place in our city. I pray that you give them wisdom to navigate the issues that our community faces. I pray that you give each leader an open heart and open mind to hear the cries of the hurting and less fortunate, and a desire to see a community where all are represented and feel a part. I pray for your peace and your protection upon our city and upon every leader and every leader's family. Let our city be a city of love, not hate, a city of light and not darkness. We lament the lives that have tragically been lost. Let our city embody the scripture in Micah 6:8, which says, "He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, fair and equitable in your dealings with people, and to love kindness, treat others as you would want to be treated, and to walk humbly with your God, acknowledging that you don't have all the answers, but you do have the humility to seek God for wisdom." So all of these things I pray this evening in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Tina McDaniel. Next, we have Lauren Turner, Vince and Lauren, who will do the pledge, and Lauren will be introduced by her dad, Vince. There we go. Thanks.
Yes. Lauren is here. She's a 2020 graduate of Tennessee High and is heading to the University of Tennessee to major in kinesiology in the fall, we hope. So she's here and leaving this evening on a beach trip with her friends. So she stayed to do the pledge and do the pledge.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and congratulations on your graduation, and condolences on this odd year for your senior year. And we certainly hope that there'll be continued some celebrations later on this summer to recognize all your classmates. So thank you very much. All right, so next we have what we do each time is a discussion for the necessity of conducting an electronic meeting. And we ask our attorney, Danielle Smith, to talk to us about that.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all know by now, the governor has issued Executive Order number 16, which was extended by Executive Order number 34, which suspended the provisions of the Open Meetings Act necessary to allow governing bodies such as the City Council to meet by electronic means rather than gathering in a physical location. But it is required that you make a finding that meeting by electronic means is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans during the COVID-19 outbreak. So if the members of the City Council could make that finding at this point and have a roll call vote that's reflected in the minutes as to whether they believe that it's appropriate to meet electronically, that would be good.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay. And all in, we have to have roll call. Sorry, Tara.
Fire Robin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Luttrell,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Sora, do we have any additions to our agenda tonight?
No, Mayor, the agenda is complete.
All right. We have 3 proclamations this evening. And the first one is on Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And Councilman Vince Turner is going to read that proclamation.
All right, whereas Alzheimer's disease is a progressive degenerative disorder that attacks the brain and results in impaired memory, thinking, and behavior, ultimately leaving its victims totally incapable of caring for themselves, is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. Whereas currently there are over 5.8 million individuals in the United States and 110,000 in the state of Tennessee with Alzheimer's disease, and nearly 16 million Americans care for someone with dementia. And whereas every 65 seconds, someone in the United States develops Alzheimer's disease, 1 in 10 people over the age of 65, nearly half of those over the age of 85 will get Alzheimer's disease, along with a percentage of persons in their mid-30s and 40s. And whereas the annual cost of Alzheimer's disease and dementias in America equal to $290 billion, and whereas the Alzheimer's Association is a not-for-profit voluntary health organization working throughout the region to provide education, support, and advocacy to those living with the disease and to support research efforts to find a cure for the future generations. And whereas many encouraging research studies are being conducted and several drug treatments have been introduced which delay the onset of disease symptoms, improving the quality of life for those afflicted and reducing the strain on caregivers. And now, therefore, it be resolved that the mayor of the city of Bristol, Tennessee, does hereby proclaim June 2020 as Alzheimer and Brain Awareness Month in Bristol, Tennessee.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I think probably most people are touched by Alzheimer's or some kind of brain disabilities. It doesn't leave anybody untouched. So thank you very much. Next, we have a proclamation on National Ownership Month, and Councilwoman Lee Powers is going to read that proclamation.
I don't have that, Margaret. I didn't know you wanted me to read that. I'm sorry.
Okay, I am sorry too. So, okay, we'll go skip and we'll go to Men's Health Month. And while we do that, I apologize. I probably failed to ask you yesterday. Put your name down.
Do you want me to do it now?
So what?
Would you like me to do it now?
If you've got it pulled up, that would be awesome. So let's go to Home Ownership Month, which that fits with the conversation we just had, Vince. So that would be great.
Okay. Whereas throughout our nation's history, homeownership has been central to the American way of life. Homeownership plays a critical role in strengthening families and communities, and for those reasons, our nation has long promoted homeownership. And whereas since America's earliest days, homeownership has been created community stakeholders who are active in charities and their places of worship and more likely to vote and become involved in local issues. Moreover, homeownership offers children a stable living environment and influences their development in measurable ways. Children of homeowners have higher student test scores, a higher rate of high school graduation, therefore higher earning potential, and are more likely to participate in organized activities. Quite simply, our nation is made stronger by the hardworking families and individuals who participate in the American dream of homeownership. And whereas homeownership also serves as an engine of social mobility and the pathway to prosperity. In fact, owning a home is a family's quickest and surest path to self-sufficiency and provides families with stability and security. Homeownership builds wealth over time, and in the long run, buying is more cost-effective than renting. In the past 15 years, the net worth of the typical homeowner has ranged between 31 and 46 times that of the net worth of a typical renter. And whereas today, over 75 million Americans are homeowners, composing more than 63.7% of America's households, The average first-time home buyer is about 33 at the front end of the millennial generation. Approximately 80% of the 41.4 million Americans aged 65 and older own their home. They have the highest home ownership rate among all age groups. Every state has a home ownership rate of at least 50%. The housing sector directly accounts for approximately 14% of total economic activity. And whereas the federal government and the state of Tennessee are working aggressively to make home ownership more affordable and more accessible, and to ensure that the dream of home ownership is available to all Americans, the city of Bristol, Tennessee joins with the federal and state government in this mission. Now, therefore, the Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim June 2020 as National Home Ownership Month and ask all citizens within the city of Bristol to join me in recognizing the importance of providing affordable housing and the opportunity for home ownership for all Americans.
Thank you very much. And again, and home ownership, and last month we had Fair Housing Month, critical things for our community, recognitions, and appreciate it. Last, for proclamations, we have Men's Health Month, and Vice Mayor Malin Luttrell is going to read this proclamation.
Whereas, despite advances in medical technology and research, men continue to live an average of 5 years less than women, with Native American and African women, with African American men having the lowest life expectancy. And whereas, educating the public and healthcare providers about the importance of a healthy lifestyle and early detection of male health problems will result in reducing rates of mortality from disease. And whereas, men who are educated about the value that preventative health can play in prolonging their lifespan and their role as productive family members will be more likely to participate in health screenings. And whereas, fathers who maintain a healthy lifestyle are role models for their children and have happier, healthier children. And whereas, Men's Health Network worked with Congress to develop a national men's health awareness period as a special campaign to help educate men, boys, and their families about the importance of positive health attitudes and preventative health practices. And whereas, the Men's Health Month website has been established at menshealthmonth.org and features resources and information about awareness events and activities. And whereas, Men's Health Month will focus on a broad range of men's health issues, including heart disease, diabetes, mental health, prostate, testicular, and colon cancer. And whereas, the citizens of this city are encouraged to increase awareness of the importance of a healthy lifestyle, regular exercise, and medical checkups. Now, therefore, the mayor of the city of Bristol, Tennessee, is hereby proclaim June 2020 as Men's Health Month and encourage all of our citizens to pursue preventative health practices and early detection efforts.
Thank you very much for reading Men's Health Month. All health is important, and it's great to have some highlights for men's health for this month. Next, we are for a presentation. We have tried to emphasize the census during this whole 2020 year, and we are glad to welcome, and always glad to welcome, Mr. Kevin Flannery, partnership specialist with United States Census, working in our area, and we appreciate very much the work that he has done and is going to do, and he's going to give us an update. We appreciate you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for having me, and to all the council members and Manager Soar. I appreciate you all having me back, even under different circumstances this time, but I think we're all getting kind of used to it, so it's not really that difficult to do. Let me just tell you all that you all have done a great job. We got a long ways to go still, but you know, this census, we, for the first time ever, have offered it online. And I don't think there's a better year that we could have done that with everybody being home so much. It actually worked out better than anticipated. So, you know, we get a lot of questions sometimes. Well, did COVID-19 affect this or that? Yeah, obviously it's affected everything. But this online option has made a huge difference. So I'll go right into some of these numbers with you. I guess you all can see the PowerPoint that Sheriff had sent.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you that those numbers change. Our response rate numbers change every day around 3 p.m. So they're pretty close on what you can see, but I'll give you the updated numbers as of this afternoon. Now, this is self-response rate only. Remember, we have not had field operations resumed yet. So this is just households who have responded. Nationally, we've had 60.5%. Tennessee, the average is, or the percentage is 60.6. Bristol is 61.8%, and Sullivan County is 63.3%, which of course you all fall within that, so those numbers count as well. I can tell you Bristol's response rate numbers by self-response only last time were 72%. So you are only, 10.2% away from beating that. And that's not just our goal all along. That goes with it. We want to far exceed that. And I'll go into a little bit about our updated timeline. I know I had emailed a few of you with some of the timeline operational stuff we had changed due to COVID-19. Self-response was supposed to end July 31st. It's going to end October 31st now. So those rates, like where you all are already at 61.8%, we've still got till the end of October to increase that. So that's good to have that breathing room. I think we still would have passed it by July 31st, but it's nice to have that buffer in there. Non-response follow-up enumeration, and that's something you all will know better as what you would consider door-to-door, or when people would come to houses that hadn't responded yet. That was supposed to start May 13th. It's actually going to start August 11th. Now they'll only be going to homes that have not responded either through the mail or through online or via the phone. And we really hope we've cut down a lot on that. And I try to tell people I don't consider it a door-to-door thing. I consider it a door, driveaways, a door. So I don't think it's going to be quite as intense as it used to be, but we'll see. Group quarters enumerations, so that'll be things like assisted living, centers, jails, anywhere where groups of people share a residence under one roof that aren't necessarily related. Those areas are going to start count July 3rd. They were going to start April 2nd, so that's been backed up to July 3rd. So we do have more time now to get some of this done. They haven't set a date yet for the homeless count, and I know we'd already been working with Christina and a few people over in your area about how we were going to handle that. Once we get a date for that that's set, we'll make plans accordingly. I can tell you that you all only have really one census tract that I'm a little concerned with, the numbers. And it's kind of surprising because we always have these tracts that we anticipate might be a low response score. And the only one that was under what we anticipate to be a 20%, and that means over 20% of the people we didn't expect them to participate. That was track 428, and that was from King University down towards the country club, kind of in that area. And those rates of participation for that track are at 58.9% right now. Very good compared to what we had anticipated. So the only one that we're really concerned with, and not all of it, is within Bristol city limits. I've been trying to look at it this afternoon so I could explain it to you a little bit better. And I know we talked about it, Mayor, when we were the last CCC meeting, I discussed that area where it was at.
Right.
It's actually track 431, and they are at 45.3% right now. In 2010, they had reached 71.8%. So that's a little more of a rural area. It's out 421, and I just jotted a few notes down so you'll kind of know the vicinity we're talking about. It's around Bristol Caverns, Virginia Avenue, out towards Taylor Dam. It's a pretty wide area out there, and not all of it's within the city limits as far as I can tell. But that's kind of the area. And Mayor, you can chime in if you want to about, some outreach we're trying to do with some of the churches in that area to try to get the word out as well. But that's one area right now and that's good, because there's some counties have several tracks that, we're trying to look at focusing more, but you all really have one right now that I'm just the least bit concerned about.
Great, thank
So
you.
questions?
Yeah, any questions from council?
I'm just, Margaret, I'm delighted that the deadline has been extended. Kevin, could you refresh everyone's memory? For each person that is counted, it means how much in appropriations to our area?
Yeah, so, anytime we share this number, we have to cite, where it came from. It came from George Washington University study. It was a Counting for Dollars research study, and they studied the role of the financial impact of the decennial census. So from their findings in the state of Tennessee, for every person who did not respond to the census, that it essentially cost that locality $1,091 in federal funding. So, we've done the math on some of that before. And if you just look at it at the county level, I don't know if we ever broke Bristol's numbers down, but I could do that for y'all if you ever want me to do that, email it to you, an estimate on it. But you can go with your participation rates for 2010 and figure out how many people didn't participate and count and times that times around $1,100. I can tell you Sullivan County, based on those estimates, ended up losing probably or not acquiring $29 million in federal funding. Now, that's for 1 year. So the next census doesn't come around, the decennial census for 10 years, that's around $290 million in federal funding that was essentially left on the table. So, and they're well aware of it. County mayors are well aware of it. Cities, we've been educating for the last year on this. So everybody's aware of the cost or the cost it could have. So that's why we're really pushing hard for this. Every state's different, and I think I mentioned it to you all before. Tennessee is actually the median state for the country. It ranges anywhere from, I can't remember I think it's Nevada is around $500 a person. That's what it costs if they don't participate. And it's either Vermont or Connecticut is like $2,300. So we are the average. I don't know whether that's good or bad, but I know this. I know, even if it was $100 a person, that's a lot of money left on the table, let alone over $1,000. So definitely something to be concerned about. I can tell you all that Bristol is being recognized by our Philadelphia Regional Census Center, and I know some of you all already received word on that. We have to do a partnership weekly report each week I'll do it on all of my counties, activities, everything going on. And what they've requested lately is they want you to highlight something from that week or something you felt that made a big impact on the census or the committee's area. So I chose Bristol, and they don't always choose. We've got 25 to 50 of those go in per state, and you all were selected. First time I'd ever even put you all in for it, and you all were profiled last week. So kudos to your all's county committee, your mayor, your leadership, because that was excellent. And, some of it had to do with the County Rainbows Children Art Contest and, kind of what you all are doing with the distribution of funds that came from the complete count grant granted by the state of Tennessee. And I know a lot of these things we can't do in person yet, but there's big things coming. So y'all's numbers are really looking good. I know you'll never be satisfied, and I can promise you and give you my word, I won't be either. So we got to keep grinding at it. But we'll be here for you, and anything you need from us, please let us know.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin. Anybody else from council? So with our census, I just want to give special nod to Sheriff Young, Stephen Mott, John Luttrell, Christina Blevins on our staff who have helped to direct the Complete Count Committee. And then also shout out to our schools and Dr. Tudor's on with us to thank y'all for working so closely and doing the Rainbow project to help get attention to the census. So I'm sure we're not done yet. So looking forward to continuing working together with staff, community, schools in trying to get the best count ever. So thank you, Kevin, very, very much. And we would love to talk with you again. So appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Next, it would be public hearings, but we do not have any public hearings. So for appearance of citizens, this section is an opportunity for the public to address City Council. Comments are limited to matters of city business only. A response is not likely to be made at this time, since in most cases, neither the council nor the city manager are prepared to effectively respond. The city manager frequently will look into the matter, report back to city council, or as appropriate, ask staff to meet with persons to work on concerns. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual or non-transferable to other individuals. Groups are encouraged to select a spokesperson to represent them. If you would like to participate in this evening's Appearance of Citizens section on our agenda, please follow the instructions scrolling at the bottom of your viewing screen. Also to note, this is to address any item on our agenda or any item of city business that is not on our agenda tonight. So we welcome anybody to call in and be present with us. Thank you. Thank you. We had no one to speak during our public comments. Next on our agenda, we have appointments. And this evening, we have one appointment for the Sullivan County Board of Equalization. And the candidate that we are looking at with a term ending on April 30th, 2022 is David Warren. Would anyone like to speak on behalf of Mr. David Warren?
Yes, Mayor, I would. I've known Mr. Warren for several years, and he'll be a very dedicated individual. He's very professional, and I think he will be a great asset to serve on this board.
Anybody else?
I think it might be nice if Mr. Sora would explain what exactly the Sullivan County Board of Equalization is for those that are watching.
That'd be great.
Yes, Councilman Powers would be glad to. This board would, as an individual, would contest the property appraisal that's provided by our office, our property assessor's office. Then the Board of Equalization is impaneled to review that petition for relief from that particular appraisal.
Thank you.
And I'll also add that David Warren is a CPA, active in our community, has a business that he has quite a few nonprofits that he helps with great work and reasonable costs. So appreciate what he does. He also has been a candidate for appointment to school board in the past. So I think we're ready to vote. Tara, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Fire Robin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Luttrell,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
And I think we also usually take a moment during our appointment time to really express appreciation to everyone who serves on our boards and commissions, and we appreciate it when people step up for appointments. That is how our government works, with folks participating and helping in all the different facets of it. So we appreciate it. Tonight we have 2 ordinances and 3 resolutions. The first ordinance is to adopt a budget and appropriate funds for fiscal July 1st through 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And it establishes the tax rate levy also. And I'll just note that we spent quite a few hours yesterday working on our budget, and that was a small amount of time compared to the amount of time that our staff, department heads and staff have spent working on this budget. Mr. Sora?
Yes, Mayor, we're glad to present ordinance 20-7. As you indicated, this is considered on first reading for formal adoption this evening. For the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020. Fiscal 21 budget totals $135,511,831. It reflects an overall increase of a little over $14.4 million, or 11.9% from our fiscal 2020 budget. Also, the ordinance 20-7 establishes the property tax levy at the current rate of $2.16 per $100 of assessed value. The proposed budget maintains the current solid waste fee, the current stormwater fee, and the current water and sewer rates at the present level. Municipal government portion of the budget stands at $73,640,367, and this reflects an increase of slightly more than $11.6 million, or 18.8% from fiscal 2020. Now, the lion's share of this increase is related to a refunding of over $9.5 or right around $9.5 million that is a subject of a resolution later this evening that will provide significant savings over the 30-year life of this, or the remaining life, excuse me, of this general obligation bond. But other key projects in this budget include a number of capital projects, both equipment and facilities, that do not involve city dollars. They're grants that either make up in either 80% or in some parts 100% of the project identified in this year's budget. And some of those projects include the redevelopment of 700 block, and this is a public-private partnership, the 700 block of Shelby Street. It includes the long-awaited reconstruction of East Cedar Street, the relocation of a portion of Island Road, the construction of sidewalks along Virginia Avenue from East Cedar Street to Hazelwood Street, and Bluff City Highway from Edgemont Avenue to Lavender Lane. It includes improvements in our biosolids handling process at our wastewater treatment plant and the resurfacing of approximately 13 lane miles of city-maintained roadway. This budget also includes key partnerships within our community. Partnerships such as the Tri-City Airport Aerospace Park and the continued development of that and the continued funding of that debt service related to that, with an anticipated completion of grading of that park in the fall of 2020. Other partnerships include that with BTES and TVA and Networks and the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development and the continued development of Bristol Business Park, as well as improvements of Partnership Park 2. The proposed budget also includes a 1% cost of living adjustment for city employees. The school system portion of the budget totals $61,871,464, which reflects an increase in slightly more than $2.8 million or 4.8%. And this increase is primarily attributed to $2.57 million that is transferred from the school or transferred to the school capital facilities fund as a portion of the Sullivan County school bond issue that was issued a couple of years ago. And these funds are set aside for the continuing construction of the new middle school, which is anticipated to open in the fall of 2021. The budget does reflect the change of the budget before you tonight does reflect the changes that you made during our budget work session yesterday. If the budget is approved this evening on first reading, a public hearing and second reading then is scheduled for next Tuesday, June 9th at 7 p.m. in the Slater Center Auditorium.
Thank you, Mr. Sora. Council members, anybody have questions or also any comments? We can go for questions first. Okay, if anybody wants to comment on the budget at this point.
I guess I would say maybe comment and question, but I guess one thing that for everyone watching that, and if I'm correct, Mr. Sora, that as we go along and we find out where we are from a sales tax situation with COVID, this budget can be amended as we go along, whether it's one way or the other, that we can do that.
Absolutely, as we mentioned yesterday, and I think most local governments are looking at this budget proposal in exactly that fashion. As we talked yesterday, you can talk to 5 different individuals and get 5 different ideas about what our economy looks like over the 6 to 12 months. So as we indicated yesterday, we can come back. I think you want to get 3 to 6 months into the year and look back and see what our local option sales tax, how that is performing, and then we can amend our budget appropriately to take care of other issues that council might want to address at that time. We annually amend our budget. Matter of fact, the next item on the agenda deals with an amendment for fiscal 2020 on 6 different funds. So this is not an uncommon practice for local government and one that's certainly permitted within statute.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve our budget for fiscal year 2021. I can't see the number right now. Oh, ordinance number 20-7. And in making that motion, I would say this. It was absolutely amazing. It is amazing the work that our staff has put into this. We met for 7 hours yesterday. It was a very open and honest conversation about where we are financially, and can't say how much I appreciate all of staff, Mr. Sora and all of the administrative staff, along with my fellow council members. It was probably one of the most conversational, genuine exchange of ideas that I've sat through in 7 years. And I really appreciate everyone's input. Thank you so much.
And I'll second that motion. I also like to concur with Councilwoman Powers on her comments. Absolutely. It was a great meeting.
All right. And further discussion, other people with comments or any discussion? We do have to really recognize that this is a very, very, very difficult time, and some of it we just don't know the effects yet. Some of the effects that we will know before too long, we don't know, with sales tax revenue taking at least 6 weeks to be reported to us. So we don't know how we did yet in April. So some of those figures come in later. So that will tell us more as we go forward. Okay, anyone else? If not, I think, Tara Music, we're ready to vote.
Fire Robin,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Luttrell,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
As Mr. Sora said, the next item on our agenda is amending our budget that we're finishing up this year. And Mr. Sora, if you want to talk to us a little bit about it.
Yes, Mayor, I'd be glad to. Ordinance 20-8 is largely a housekeeping measure, and one that we do this time of year, where we go back and we clean up a statute, and we're required to do this in terms of the expenditures allocated in a particular budget. So we'll adjust. We have 6 funds that we'd like to bring before you this evening. The amendments reflect either increased revenues or increased expenditures beyond those that were originally anticipated during the development of budgets for the respective funds. Most of these are special revenue funds. The first is the general purpose school fund. Is proposed to increase by $630,000 due to increased capital outlay and operating costs. The next fund is the School Nutrition Fund. It's proposed to increase for approximately $140,000 to reflect additional operating costs. The Electronic Citation Fee Fund will increase by $3,875 to reflect additional revenues beyond those originally budgeted. The Solid Waste Fund is proposed to increase by just under $230,000 to reflect increased tipping fees associated with disposal costs and equipment repairs. The Debt Service Fund is amended to reflect the refunding of approximately $6.7 million of general obligation bonds during fiscal 2020. And as you may recall, this was done also to take advantage of lowering interest rates at a time when those bonds were scheduled as callable. And then the Capital Equipment Fund is proposed to increase by $96,450 to reflect the acquisition of the new stage for the downtown center. Again, this is a housekeeping measure. If approved on first reading, then a public hearing, the second reading, will be scheduled for our Tuesday, June 9th meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff from council? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 20-8, amending the fiscal 2020 appropriation of funds and budget.
Second.
All right, so Chad, Vince, any discussion? If we can go ahead and vote with roll call.
Fire Robin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Luttrell,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Next on our agenda, we have proposed economic development incentive program. That's resolution 20-32. Mr. Sora, can you summarize this for the public? This is something that has been before us a couple of times for presentation, discussion, tweaking, etc. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. As council's aware, one of the goals for staff this current fiscal year was to revise the existing economic development incentive policy, and the work before you is the result of that effort. As you're aware, the incentive program is designed to attract new business and facilitate the growth of existing business in our community. This document provides guidance to City Council, the various city economic development boards, such as the Industrial Development Board or the Housing Authority, as they relate to various economic development incentives. And also guides staff in terms of the use of the incentives in stimulating the local economy. This program does detail the potential use of pilots and TIFs, acronyms for payment in lieu of tax arrangements, as well as tax increment financing. And it also details the use of infrastructure improvements as development incentives. Policy also provides quantifiable measures or metrics in which we can gauge the impact of a particular expansion or a new business on our local economy and what it brings in terms of the number of jobs and the quality of those jobs. I think with that, Tom Anderson is going to also has presented this a couple of times. I'll give you a very brief review and then respond to any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have thank you all. I hope you're having a good evening or well rested. But Bill did a fantastic job on summarizing the incentive policy. But as you know, we have two forms of tax increment finance. One of them goes through the Housing Authority, which then deals with redevelopment. Then we also have the Economic Development TIF, which goes through the Industrial Development Board, which requires an economic impact study and a plan, and it must be approved by the state. And then the incentives will be divvied out if there is an increment and it is approved. It comes from the Industrial Development Board. All of these are very powerful. The strategic development areas, the SDAs, that goes under the pilot arrangements, but that is to incent targeted areas of town for mixed use development. And since the bar's set fairly high, we decided that it would be a good idea to attempt to incent developers to shoot for that bar. So we do have that incentive. It functions like a TIF, but it is actually a pilot agreement that would go through the Industrial Development Board. And of course, it is also a performance-based metric that they would have to meet. And there are, as has been pointed out, there are clawback features. So there would be communication with the developer. And if it's a company coming in, it'll be communication with the company's corporate office or the finance people or the HR department that would have to do an annual report. So we would keep a very close watch on all these incentives and make sure that the metrics are being hit. So, but I think it's a very robust policy, and it's a really good indicator that, you know, we take it serious and we do want performance, and we do want assets to grow, and we do want wages to increase, and we do want companies happy and healthy in our community. And it's a very responsible way to do business.
Thank you. Are there questions from council for staff?
Tom, I would just like, if you would speak to the fact that, you know, we have a lot of people, well, not a lot, but we have some of our constituents that want to talk about, you know, incentives and the possibility of any one project being over incentivized. But for the most part, any project doesn't have multiple incentives, correct? Can you speak to that?
Well, let me make sure I've got this right. So you're just talking about multiple incentives for local or just everything? Okay. Generally, there's not that much. Our toolbox locally is very limited. And we also want to be fairly judicious on how we provide these incentives. And that's why, you know, having a performance-based metric and being able to quantify success and failure before we, you know, divert tax dollars or something like that. And these can actually be stacked with the state. And of course, the state also has performance measures, so they have to report to them annually also. And then if there's some Workforce Investment Act money, which would be kind of a federal tie-in, generally that's tied into higher skilled, more advanced training, and it tries to offset some of that. But actually, all of these can be stacked together to come up with a, you know, pretty competitive, especially if we're competing with another state, a very competitive package for an industry that we would like to see come here.
But I think it's really important to note that the metrics are there for performance based. And so as it is incentivized, then we are on the receiving end as well based on these metrics.
True. It's a win-win for everyone. And as long as they perform, we will do what we promise we'll do.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? If there's a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 20-32.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Lee.
Okay. Second resolution number 20-32.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or comments from council? I'll just say that we have been pretty aggressive in our economic development in working with folks and trying to explore all the different options. And what this policy does is puts it all in one place and puts it in writing for all of it, so that makes it easier for us to advertise with our development community here and other places, and helps us have clear understanding for the expectations. So greatly appreciate the work that's gone into it. All right, anybody else? I think we're ready to vote.
Fire Robin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Luttrell,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have Resolution 90-33, which authorizes the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds in the amount of $9,725,000. And I think we have a guest here to talk about that as well. So, Mr. Sora, if you will talk about it a little bit and introduce Scott Gibson.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be glad to. This item was brought before City Council in a work session last month, and it is the refunding of our 2013 Series A general obligation bonds, which was the first tranche of funding that allowed the Pinnacle project to move forward. We do have an option to refund at this time and take advantage of lower interest rates. Mr. Scott Gibson, our financial advisor with Cumberland Securities, is with us tonight, and I'm going to let him detail the rest of this. Scott?
Sure. Thank you, Bill. Can everyone hear me? I think they can. So the resolution tonight, as everyone has mentioned, will refinance the 2013 bonds. We are projecting a little over $900,000 worth of savings. I am hopeful that the market will stay strong and we can hopefully do a little bit better than that. Just from a timeline perspective, if you adopt the resolution tonight, we will have a rating call with Moody's, which we have historically used up in Bristol, later this week, and then hopefully get these bonds sold as soon as June 17th. So 2 weeks from tomorrow, if everything falls into place, so we can get these locked in, and then close the transaction in early July in the new fiscal year. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, but that's kind of where we are and where we're headed.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? I think we've had it covered, and you covered it well. Anybody have? Okay, we'll take a motion and then any discussion. Motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 20-33, authorizing the proposed refunding of general obligation debt.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll just say that it's staying on top of these things. It's not lots and lots of money, but it certainly is significant dollars for us that are saved. And Scott Gibson, we appreciate so much your expertise and our being able to call on you, and you're responding so readily to us. We really appreciate that. So I think we're ready to vote.
Fire Robin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Luttrell,
Yes.
All Great.
And I say yes.
Oh, sorry, I was skipping. I knew somebody was missing. Thank you. And thanks, Scott, very much for being with us. So, and you, again, didn't have to drive up the highway to come visit us. So we miss you here, but glad that it's an easy join some of the time. So
Thank you very much. And just to give you a heads up, I think I will be, we will be getting together again in the future. Obviously, we have this middle school project that keeps moving forward, and we're going to have to do something there. And then I've already talked to city staff about some potential refunding opportunities next spring that we can pursue potentially. So we hopefully will be able to circle back up and maybe find some more money to save, several months from now.
great. Well, I know yesterday we talked a lot about when our debt falls off and when those opportunities to come. So maybe one of your visits, we can do that bigger discussion too with you to look at where that happens. So
Sounds good.
all right. Thank
you
very much. All right. Next, we have resolution 20-34, authorizing the city to enter into agreement with Sullivan County related to the extension of the city-county sewer agreement. And this is something we're also very pleased to have on our agenda tonight. Mr. Sora?
Yes, Mayor. Some of you may recall and remember the discussions, and in April of 1996, Sullivan County and its 3 municipalities entered into a 25-year agreement to guide the extension of sanitary sewer services in the unincorporated areas of Sullivan County. The agreement set forth obligations for the county in terms of extending trunk sewers. It also set forth the obligations of the municipalities to provide collection sewers and treatment services related to the sanitary sewer. As we neared the end of this, the issue came up approximately 15 months ago about redirecting some of the dollars set aside for the Bristol area from some identified projects that probably didn't serve anyone particularly well, to redirect those monies to the Weaver Pike area. And this conversation really began as part of the East Middle School. So if you may recall, last spring, Sullivan County Commission, as well as the City of Bristol, Kingsport, and the Town of Bluff City, amended the agreement, the existing 25-year agreement, to address funding of sewer service in the Weaver Pike area. Problem that we were encountering, though, is that the life of this 25-year agreement was over in April of 2021, and it didn't allow enough runway, so to speak, for Sullivan County to fund those improvements and before the end of the existing agreement. So last month, the Sullivan County Commission unanimously approved a two-party agreement with the City of Bristol to extend the life of our agreement for the installation of the sanitary sewer services in the Weaver Pike area until the end of December of 2029. And the different phases, and there are 3 phases of this program, would be constructed as resources are available during that period from Sullivan County. This is a significant issue and a really win-win for both the City of Bristol and Sullivan County. Sullivan County has made a substantial commitment in a new middle school in that area, which with sanitary sewer service available, then that will allow that land use to change from an agrarian land use to one of residential. And while most of that area is outside of our urban growth boundary and really not subject to an annexation piece, that it will enhance Sullivan County's position as housing does occur in that area, but it'll also help us from, that's going to be within our retail sphere of influence. So residents in newly developed subdivisions in that area would shop in Bristol. So it's truly a positive impact for both Sullivan County and the City of Bristol.
Right. Any questions from council for staff, for Mr. Sora?
Bill, this is just extending what the original agreement was as far as the amount of what was proposed, what our portion was, what Sullivan County's portion was. we're just extending that, and it's still the same agreement. We're just extending it out a few more years, right?
Yeah, it extends the runway. All of the other projects that were committed in other areas of Sullivan County, and some were for the city outside of the city of Kingsport. In other words, in their 201 service area. There was also a small project related to the town of Bluff City. They've been completed. So as a project goes forward, it's a two-party agreement now.
Right.
That does extend the runway for approximately 10 years to allow Sullivan County to program that funding necessary. And I think the project will end up being a three-phase project. So it allows them to, in a responsible fashion, fund those three different phases over the next decade.
Yeah, and Mr. Sora, just since we talk a lot about our Tri-Cities Airport, just clarification, when you talk about extending the runway, you're talking about extending the time for the projects to
the life of the agreement. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds good, but just to be clear that people don't think that our airport runways are going to be in that area.
There's not going to be an airport on Weaver Pike now.
One other question is, what was the original agreement term of the years?
It was a 25-year agreement that would terminate in April of 2021. So you can see
extending it 10. It was originally a 25-year agreement, and we're extending it 10.
Yes.
Okay. It's just kind of for everyone listening. Thank you.
I think Mr. Sora is to be commended on this particular situation, along with Mayor Venable. They have worked very diligently to find a win-win situation for both the county and the city, and they have certainly done that. It has provided the sewer and that they've needed to go out to the middle school. At the same time, as Mr. Sora said, enhancing our own opportunities to build out that corridor. So thank you, Mr. Sora. It's a win-win, and I know you put a lot of effort into this, and we thank you.
Amen.
Mayor, if you're looking for a motion. Okay, assuming you are.
We may have lost her. Could you chair the meeting until Mayor Fire-Robin can rejoin?
Absolutely. Looking for a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 20-34, authorizing the entry into an agreement related to the city county sewer agreement.
I'll say, go ahead, Vince. You take this one.
Okay, I think we're probably ready for any discussion, and if there is none, a vote.
Tara?
Okay, seeing no discussion, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. Fire-Robin? King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Luttrell?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes.
Okay, that does bring us, that concludes our regular business, but does bring us to our consent agenda.
Yes, Mr. Sora?
I'll be glad to read those items on our consent agenda if you would like. Okay. All right, the first item is the minutes from the May 5th, 2020 City Council meeting. Then the minutes from the May 12th, 2020 called City Council work session. Minutes from the May 19th, 2020 called City Council work session. Resolution 2035 awarding a bid for the purchase of taser sets for the police department. Resolution 2036 awarding a bid for the purchase of tactical ballistic vest sets for the police department. Both of these are also these are requirement fulfillment orders that will be over the balance of the next fiscal year. Resolution 2037, awarding a proposal for reinsurance of the self-funded health insurance plan. Resolution 2038, approving an interlocal cooperation agreement with the Emergency Communications District of the City of Bristol, Tennessee. And lastly, Resolution 2039, approving an agreement with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for the maintenance of state highways within the city limits of Bristol.
Okay, I'm back. Did y'all miss me?
Here.
Malin, you want to finish it up or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and finish this and then hand it back over to you.
Right.
Is there any items the council would like to have removed from the consent agenda? If not, we'll call for a vote. Tara?
Make a motion.
Sorry, Vince.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Great.
Okay, Tara?
Fire Robin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Luttrell,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
All right. I think, did I miss the vote on the sewer agreement?
Yes, you did.
Good.
Can I have Ms. Smith, can I have the minutes reflect that I do vote positively for that?
You can have the minutes reflect that. I think that the measure passed without your
Right. Right.
So,
I just want to go on record that I'm really glad to see that. Okay, Dr. Tudor, I think you're with us to give us a little update from the Board of Education.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for having me this evening. I am excited to report that we have returned our 11 and 12-month administrative staff to working on site. They began last week, and as of yet, I've not had a single person complain. I think our folks are happy to be back together with each other. More excitingly, though, we have our athletes returned to action. We have a return to action plan, and our athletes started yesterday. We started yesterday with football and basketball and volleyball. We added baseball today, and we're considering some competition and some competitive opportunities for regional sports, particularly in baseball in the coming weeks. So we're very excited to have our athletes back. We have a plan that was approved by the health department and Dr. Kursky in Washington County. So we feel very positive about our plan, and we continue to monitor that weekly with the regional superintendent. So all areas, school districts are doing the same thing. So I feel very good about our plan and progressing. I asked for patience with our community members. Some of our facilities are shut down during the time that we have students present. In particular, for instance, our track at Tennessee High School, we ask that we don't have community members exercising on the track when we have students present. That's for their safety as well as the safety of our students and our coaches. So I apologize for that inconvenience. We have posted signs and we have information on our website about the times that we're restricting that access a little bit. And so far, our community members have been very gracious about that, but I just wanted to make a note about that. As I've reported previously, our summer feeding is continuing. We started that last week and continued this week. We have seen a drop off a little bit in terms of participation from what we had during the last 9 weeks of our school year. So I hope that's a positive situation. We've been able to adjust to that, but we continue to have a variety of locations, and that information is on our website as well. If you happen to be by Tennessee High School, you'll see senior banners, pictures of all of our seniors, if they had a senior picture or a banner with their name on it, are now posted along the fence of our track, which is just an opportunity to recognize our seniors yet again for kind of ending their school year in a sad way. A group of parents got together and donated those banners and hung them, I think, yesterday and finished those today. So those are out there for everyone to enjoy. I don't know if I've mentioned to you all or not, but we were fortunate enough to be able to include bringing back welding in our program for next year at Tennessee High School. We were creative in using a variety of funding resources, some general purpose and a lot of federal funding through our CTE Perkins funding, to be able to offset the equipment costs for that and offset the costs for staff for at least for 2 years before we have to assume that in our general purpose budget. We had significant interest from our students for that program, so we're very excited about the opportunity to bring that program back to Tennessee High School. And then finally, we have pre-kindergarten and kindergarten registration is happening right now. Because of our restrictions with being on site, we're handling that online. We're hoping to be able to do maybe some on-site registration in the coming weeks. We are seeing that we're not getting the participation that we would have anticipated with that. So if you know of pre-kindergarten age students and kindergarten age students who need to register, if you all could help us get the word out that they can do that by going to our website or contacting the school in their zone and encouraging them to register so we can plan accordingly for staff, that would be greatly appreciated. That's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Council, any questions?
Just one comment. Yesterday when we were in our budget meeting, Councilman King brought up the fact that there may be some concern as to whether or not we are committed as a council to the 2.5 million that we had previously committed for construction of Vance Middle School. And I know you and I have spoken, and Mr. Sora and all of council, we talked about that yesterday. And I think I can only speak for myself, but I believe we are still very committed and hope that there isn't any confusion as to the commitment that we as a council have made, and that it is our, I don't want to speak for everybody else, everybody chime in, but
you took exactly what I was getting ready to say, that the exact same thing, that, you know, from my standpoint, and I think we've had the discussion also that I'm committed to the $2.5 million that we have, and I believe it's budgeted already. So I'm not sure where the, you know,
I can speak to that. I do not think there's confusion about your commitment. I have had conversations with a few of you actually, and I appreciate that commitment. I think our concern is about the way the resolution is written, that the way the resolution is written now does not bind you to a commitment to that $2.5 million. So that's just that was our concern. Not that you're not committed to that. We appreciate that it's in the budget. We appreciate actually the conversations we've had around the potential to borrow money for your portion of that and our portion of that to kind of secure our reserve funding. So the question really is around the wording of the resolution and the fact that the resolution was passed under a previous council. So that's the question.
And that wording in it, to refresh my memory, was that I think there were some from the previous council that wanted to exhaust naming opportunities before our 2.5 was committed. And yes, I think it would be appropriate for us to poll our council or for us to re-explore that, and if it would give comfort to re-explore the resolution so that it reflects an absolute commitment.
I think that would be a good conversation to have. It's my hope that we're actually getting our board up to date on the project in the month of June at our work session. My hope is that we can do the same with you all in the month of July, maybe even do the tour, but also bring you up to speed on where we are with the project in terms of funding and the timeline, so that you're up to date and current on that. And that was one of the things that we were going to discuss at that time with you all. I think the other piece of the resolution that was that question is the total amount that is in the resolution that was passed previously. That is not the total amount of the project any longer. So that's also a different a consideration, that maybe we would look at that and put the total amount that we've all agreed to in an updated resolution or conversation with you all. Those are the two concerns.
Well, that's something certainly that I would suggest, and I know Mr. Sora would too, that you and Mr. Sora figure out and keep us abreast.
Yeah, and Mr. Sora can, if it's appropriate, to have an updated resolution on our agenda to officially adopt. If that follows protocol and is appropriate, I think that would be a good thing to pursue.
Be fine.
Yeah. and for next week if possible. So go ahead and get that confirmed.
Okay.
And the second comment that I would make is that I have a precious 5-year-old coming to Haynesfield Elementary in the fall, and he was signed up online, and we're really excited to begin the school adventure again with our grandchildren. And thank you for all that you do.
Great, thank you.
Okay, other comments or questions? Again, we thank our school system for doing so much with all our students and families. In the nonprofit community, the belief is that there will be some additional, that right now with some of the relief that's been provided, that families are being able to survive and do better with food and amenities, and that may change before too long. So it is a little hard to adjust to the demand when it changes throughout. So appreciate you very much, and appreciate all your workers and everybody, teachers, everyone who has come up to support.
Thank you.
So, and lots of community members too who've provided funding for some different programs. Really appreciate it. Okay, next, Mr. Sora, do you have comments?
Just a few, Mayor. I won't take much of your evening, but I do want to remind you of the meeting on June 9th that I've referenced earlier today. This will be second reading and public hearing of ordinance 20-7 and 20-8, and then we'll add the resolution addressing clarity to the language regarding the $2.5 million contribution to the new middle school. Also, on Tuesday, June 23rd, at 11 a.m. And right now it's in the annex, but as we get further into phase 2, we may need to spread out more, but we can decide the place. But we'll have our regular monthly work session at that time. Discussion items on the agenda that day will include design standards for commercial property. We've had a number of items that we've tried to cover, and of course COVID-19, and that's a little bit of a difficult subject to do over a Zoom type format. So, but we'd like to have that on the agenda for the 23rd. Also, we'd like to continue the dialogue on residential incentives, continue that conversation. And then I'd like to review the annual appropriation agreements for nonprofits with City Council on that date prior to formal consideration during our July meeting. Then on Thursday, June 25th at noon at the Steel Creek Lodge, our community development staff will host a luncheon with residential developers and members from the real estate community to discuss existing development incentives and learn about any potential obstacles to development that might be experienced within our community, and then also talk about vacant property both within our corporate limits and outside our corporate limits, within the vicinity of either trunk sewers or water distribution mains, which might lend itself for residential development. And then lastly, while we were meeting yesterday, staff received an electronic transmission from the Tennessee Department of Transportation authorizing the city to proceed with the bidding for the long-awaited East Cedar Street reconstruction projects. We're excited to get that, and we'll be moving forward with that bidding.
Oh my gosh. All right, so that is exciting news also for our community in that area. It's not going to be fun, but boy, is it going to change how things look and be very, very exciting. So, so we'll talk a lot about that as going forward, and community meetings and things to help folks understand what the process is and the different phases, et cetera, I assume. All right, thank you. Anybody have questions for Mr. Sora? Any other dates or anything? If not, I think it's time for our city council comments.
I'll start out, I guess after yesterday, still a little tired, but I think we had a great meeting yesterday, and I'm glad to see that as driving through downtown, more people coming to downtown and getting back to more of a normal. And that's exciting to see, and happy that more and more businesses, hopefully all will be open back up really soon downtown. And that's about it.
Okay, next.
I'll go next if it's okay. I appreciate our other council members reiterating to the school system of our commitment of the $2.5 million that we're putting into the advanced middle school. And I don't really think there was any doubt. It was really what Dr. Tudor mentioned about the wording, specific wording, that was a little bit concerning. And so I'm glad to hear that we're going to get that wording reiterated. And it was a good discussion yesterday to make sure that everybody yesterday, and along with all the rest of you, that we are committed to our school system. We'll do anything we possibly can along the lines to make things work. And also along the lines of our school system, I want to say congratulations to our 2020 graduates. It's been a memorable year, let's say that. And but you know, things are progressing. They're going to be moving along with their plans for the future. And so again, congratulations to them. As far as our school system, our parents of these kids, it's, you know, that they have worked together to make things work, like the prom and graduation and things of that nature. So I want to say to them, congratulations to all those kids. One of the things that I think came about yesterday that was two things that really stood out to me yesterday that we found out during our 7 or 8 hours? I don't know. We stopped counting, but it was our per capita debt, which is, we're in a strong shape there as compared to some communities. So that was one thing that stood out to me. And I also thought that that Mike Carrier of our fire department made a really good presentation on specifically how our fire and EMS services are working in conjunction to make sure that all of the city limits are covered. And I thought the way the presentation was presented was very, very good, and it showed the different quadrants of each particular fire station with EMS workers, how things would happen, how things sometimes are difficult during training and things of that nature. But in the last 2 to 3 years, we have now really improved our EMS service within all quadrants. And so I think those are huge public safety steps that we have made over the last 2 or 3 years. And also too, to reiterate that we really need to be thinking hard about one particular fire station that we really need to be thinking about to be better centralized in the Holston View district. So I thought that was a great presentation. Appreciate the hard work and the effort that it took to put that out. And I think it really shows to everybody just exactly what our fire and EMS coverage is.
I'll jump in next and kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, Chad, is that, you know, we're in a time of great transition, and with transition can come transformation. It's not always an easy road to walk. And from a social perspective at the time right now, you know, we're experiencing a lot as a country. And, you know, I think it's very important of us to be mindful of those around us and to treat one another with respect and understanding. I think that yesterday the meeting demonstrated the fact that we have, while we have some challenges, not to undermine where we are, we also have some great opportunities along with that. Throughout this spring, we've met a lot in work session. We've addressed a lot, everything from housing to infrastructure to trails, and to the budget yesterday. And to that point, speaking of the opportunity that we have the opportunity to transition to even better government than we have had. I think we've had exceptional government, if you want to know the truth, through the years. But I think we're at a tipping point, at that turning point, where we're going to have some real opportunity to even be better moving forward. And so I'm very excited. There are going to be some things that we're looking at that will have the potential to be restructured, but the restructuring will come to have a better product in the end. And so I appreciate everyone's open-mindedness and am very hopeful for our future.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no question. We're going through a very exciting period again. It's great seeing businesses open up. It's great seeing the schools coming back to life. Just driving around the community, just seeing the number of vehicles that's out moving around. Anytime we can have conversations about potentially creating incentives to build residential housing, coming up with economic development incentive programs and plans to do so. I mean, that's great for our community. Yeah, we are in a time of healing, and there is a lot to be concerned about still yet. But, I don't think there's a better community in the nation than what we have right here in Bristol. And Dr. Tudor, one thing, if you ever have any issues like you guys have been, worried about, please feel free to bring them to our attention early up so we can figure out what's going on with that.
Thank you. I will.
Right. Thank you very much. So I would thank all of council for your comments and positive comments, comments of hope, comments of looking to the future. And also I'll pick up on the time of transition and transformation. I think that is very true. I'm going to be a little bit of a move a little way. I too believe in hope, but I also and think that we have a lot to look forward to and a lot that that's very positive, taking us in the right directions. Also agree that we couldn't live in a better community. But I also wanted to make some notes that we're in some pretty hard times, and that for our state, the positive COVID-19 cases are going up, which we expected they probably would with some of the opening up. We continue to be extraordinarily fortunate here in Sullivan County that ours have not gone up. But COVID isn't done with us yet. I urge everyone to continue taking precautions of distancing, masks, sanitizing, staying healthy, and taking care. And then we have an even tougher time across our country, with attention being drawn to the inequities of race, to the racism that's present across our country and in all of our communities. And the demonstrations, the vigils, the walks and marches held in Bristol brings us together. Brings us together in community with each other, in community with our fellow Bristolians, in community with Tennessee and Virginia across our line, in community with other cities and areas across our country. And in community, we come to recognize that we have problems that are not addressed, problems that are centuries old, problems that some don't see, problems some lose their lives over. We need to walk on this journey to resolve problems. We need to move with urgency, move in community, in hope to be together, in hope to listen to each other, in hope to understand each other, to support, to learn, in hope to have meaningful and lasting change. And I'll end with saying that many argue, and I can argue also, that all lives matter, which is always true. But today, now more than ever, with the things that have been happening, and particularly with the data and the statistics, we all need to agree that Black Lives Matter, and we all need to be the change, working together, that we all need to be the change that we want to see and move us all forward. And with that, I will end our meeting and thank everybody very much. And thanks for those 7 to 8 hours yesterday we spent together. And particularly, again, thank all our staff. And I'll note when I disappeared from the meeting, it had nothing to do with RIT. It had to do with a blip in my power. And thank you, Vice Mayor Luttrell. Usually we say ahead of time, be ready to take over. I didn't say that this time, so I must have jinxed it. So thank you very much. All right, with that, we'll end our meeting. And if we don't see each other before next Tuesday, we will see each other next Tuesday. So thank you.